Mark, good morning. How are you?
I'm entirely relaxed, having been away for a weekend and watched some fabulous rugby. How are you, Tim? And what have you got for us today, man? The G20 creeps up upon us.
It
Eh?
does. That is what I want to talk about. But tell us a bit about where you've gone and what you've done, because it's interesting.
I was driving. If you drive from Johannesburg down to Timbavati, down there in Limpopo somewhere, I was
Right.
struck by the contrasts. I was struck by the contrasts of urban and regional decay in places of extraordinary natural beauty that house extraordinary deposits of natural resources. And there, in front of my eyes, was this challenge that we need to take up. We have an extraordinarily beautiful, endowed country, and it seems to be slipping. And you can't help notice the stark differences from one place to another. And every little town that we drove through is falling apart. And yet you go into places that are preserved and massive farmers with beautiful covered citrus and export avos and things of this nature. And how do we bring it all together and make hay out of all the natural advantages we give instead
Yeah.
of destroying our difference by virtue of our differences? It
No, it's
overwhelmed
just
me, actually. Yeah.
yeah. No, it's extraordinary. Sometimes I get the impression that there's parts of South Africa that are caught in a time warp, in a kind of
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
preserved in aspect. This is a part of the world that is it's just cushioned from the all of the ravages of society, and it's
yeah,
such an enormous privilege to be able to participate in that. But at the
yeah.
same time, increasingly, it seems like it's just unsustainable. You can't do that. I wanted to ask
Well,
you a question. What do you think
mm,
my solution to this, my kind of simplistic sort of journalistic solution to this, is we need to urbanize. All of the
what?
small towns, we need to encourage urbanization because those small little
Urbanize.
towns,
I thought you'd brought out a new word. I thought you said overdize. So I didn't know what the hell that meant.
urbanize.
But okay, yeah, urbanize, urbanize. I got it. Yeah,
I
okay.
mean, urbanization is taking place in South Africa, but there's still historical reasons why people stay in those small towns. They love them. They were brought up there.
Well,
There's a resistance to the idea of moving to the city,
well,
which is
the small
understandable, if you
towns.
want to be honest.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
small towns and their economies are dwindling, and the number of
Yes.
residents are spreading and increasing. Okay, so there's a bigger and bigger, and maybe it's because coming to the city ain't delivering the promise that it once did. Okay, and so we can start
Yeah.
talking about why would you come to Joburg? Why would you come to the center of
Yes.
Joburg, or why would you come to the really minimal residential structures for newcomers to Johannesburg? And the answer is you'd rather go home, eh? I promise you, you can see vast spreading of local population occupation of smaller and smaller towns. And
Yeah.
it's a big issue. I sat there and I thought, oh, I would love to sit around a table with a map of South Africa and all the demographics and geographies and economics and go, okay, is anyone sitting around saying, what are the basic constructs of a 10-year solution? And I'm not
Yes.
sure. I think we moved from crisis to crisis, Tim. It was in one way, it was a wonderful thought. Thought maybe maybe anyway. I don't know the answer, but I don't
Have
know
we
if
not
anyone's
gone there?
thinking.
The problem with the constructive 10-year solutions is we seem to have done a zillion of them. And
Yeah, I know, but
they get put on the
it's
shelf.
because it's the same old thing. And I'm going to just go off on a tangent for a moment. Mamdani
Okay.
is the new mayor of New York. Now, in an article by the Wall Street Journal, they go he's stuck in this conundrum about whether he alienizes his loyalists or he
Right.
antagonizes his critics. I thought it was a great summary. And
Right.
here's the thing: it seems to be the curse of the politician that you are there
Yes.
by the popular vote for
Yes.
things you stand for or for communities or bodies of people that you represent. But you're not there necessarily because you have a solution for New York. You present who you are, where you come from, who you associate with, and that gets you elected into power. I'm going on a bit because this is an old thing of mine. What do you do with the populist vote if when you don't have a competent team?
And it's just fantastic that he's been elected. I love the idea of the Democrats rising up again. That's always good. It's nice to have
Yeah, and he's
competition in
34
the
years
political
old.
system. No, that's right. And his mom made great movies. Let's face it.
I,
But my problem is that the solutions that he's put on the table are all nuts. They're nuts.
I haven't got it.
He wants to create he wants to have a state-run supermarket in every borough in New York. And
Right.
the notion is that supermarket chains are gouging New Yorkers, and that if the state ran it, they would run it properly, and
Yeah,
they
well,
wouldn't
I mean,
gouge.
they'd run out of stock
It's like,
in no
what?
time at all. They'd run out of produce. No, so yeah, you have this. This is the essence of our and so many other countries' problems. You have this ideology versus reality fight, and and people. I've treated this before. People who've never run the 100 yards stand up
Yes,
on a pulpit somewhere and tell you how they're going to break the world record for the 100 meters. Okay, people
yes.
who've never run it. They go, we're going to change this and do this by this thing. But you go, sorry, mate, have you ever done such a thing? Even on the tiniest of scales, you would know that it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. It doesn't work. Okay. And
So
trust that.
I was writing this week about why it is that bad ideas never die. What is it about bad ideas that
Yeah, yeah.
and actually
And
when I
why good
thought about
ideas
it,
never live. Yeah.
yeah, yes, it was. Though when I thought about it, it's actually not true. A whole bunch of bad ideas have died. But there is a science behind which bad ideas die and why, and which bad ideas don't die and why. And
I can't
the
wait.
essential,
Tell me, Tim.
okay, it's complicated. But the point is that if there's a very clear, scientific, demonstrable answer
Right.
that you can transmit to people easily and effectively, then the bad idea dies. But if the bad ideas contain a germ of a good idea,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
they just sound very attractive, or it's very difficult to measure, in all of those situations, the bad idea doesn't die. That's the
No, but the
situation.
trouble is, it's promises by the ignorant to the ignorant. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
very
And
harsh, Mark. I'm sorry to
no,
say.
but it is. We, for the most part, no, this is not judging others, it's judging, I'm including myself. Okay.
Right,
If you
right.
walk into a laboratory that's trying to find a cure for whatever, you're not the audience because you don't even have the fundamental chemistry understanding of the challenge that there is. And if someone says, here's a green pill that gets rid of the green bacteria, you go,
Right,
oh, fantastic, I'll have one of those. But you're not
right,
qualified to. And
right.
then, worse still, if the person offering you the green tablet isn't a chemist, or some
Yes.
sort of biologist, whatever those people are called, thingies, then,
Right.
you're both in trouble. Okay.
Yes.
But I think in South Africa, I do think in South Africa, that truth, that home truth is coming home to roost. I do see more and more, and I mean it, real efforts to combine private sector expertise and experience with public sector authority and power. I'm starting to see
Yeah,
it. I really am,
yeah, yeah.
across a
Okay.
number of
Let's
initiatives.
Just let's bring it home then,
Yeah,
because as you were saying, the topics that I wanted to talk about are the G20 and the mini budget,
yeah,
because those are the topics that most human beings on earth are really fascinated by. If
right.
you just ask a person, which would you rather watch? Would you rather watch the mini budget or the rugby? They would always say the mini budget because the mini budget is extraordinarily exciting.
Yeah. No, I can't wait. You'll send me a WhatsApp about when it's on. Okay.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So,
Okay, tell
yeah,
me your thoughts on the mini budget, Tim.
okay.
Go on,
Yeah.
share this excitement. Get me worked up.
No, my introduction has destroyed my own confidence in my own ability
Okay,
to
well,
explain this in an interesting way. What is
help.
interesting, let's
Yeah,
just talk about the G20 quickly, because the news is that Donald Trump has now said that no one from America is coming.
yeah,
And as my colleague Rob Rose was saying this morning, the problem is that this means that really this is just completely pointless, because South Africa is going to hand over the G20 to America, and anything they decide now, America's going to undo.
unwind. Yeah,
Yeah. What is exactly the point of all of this? And in some ways, I think that they should try and use that to their advantage. They should say, listen, let's just go think outside the box. Really, just
no,
be
Tim,
completely. So,
seriously, you're
oh
getting
no.
more like a politician every day. You want to make a suggestion, and your suggestion is let's think out of the box. We're all gathered here in a box called the G20. So tell me what you want to think about in that box.
I think they could really debate the climate crisis more specifically and more actively, and be less evangelical about it, and think about it
More
more
pragmatic. You want
pragmatically.
pragmatism and climate change in the same room.
Yes, I know. Very
Okay.
naive. Sorry.
Yeah.
I
And
track that. Okay,
next.
that's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Next. Yeah.
All right. So the question is, as you were hinting, I think a bit earlier, was what is the point of the G20? What are we doing here? What is
Yeah.
the
What is the
and
point?
I don't know.
Nor do I.
Okay. But I think I have a theory. My theory is that what we're doing here is that we are demonstrating what is the global consensus. We're trying to develop sort of ideas that bridge different, which is why it's disappointing that the Americas now are not going to be part of this because of this completely specious notion that, South
Mm.
Africa's murdering its own citizens. It's just like nuts. But anyway, the point is that even without the United States, the rest of the world could say, here's here's a baseline of what we think is good for all of us. And let's start there and move onwards. How's that? That's very
I
Polynesian. I
think
have to
you've
say
got to
that. I have to
start.
agree.
Have you considered standing for office there in Port Alfred? Anyway, so here's the thing. What
Right,
is their mandate? Sport has got such a clear mandate. Okay, get more
right.
points than the other side. Then you delve down into strategies depending on who they are and all that. I've got to mention quickly that how the Springboks came back to beat the French. I've never seen such joyful, my point, misery, their point, and on the French crowds gathered masses. And it happily coincided with Police's 100th game. So go Boca, that was just too fantastic. Anyway, back to the mandate. What is the mandate? If you and I, two ignorant citizens, can't tell what the hell they're doing about the G20, then what is it? What do you send your representative to the G20 to achieve? What is it? And how does that fit within their broader purpose and mandate? And I could start asking the same questions about the United Nations, the World
Yes.
Bank, and for that matter, any list of global gathering places where it seems to me very little other than juxtapositioning of different ideologies and present wars are dominating the agenda. Help me.
Well, so the reason the leadership rotates on this thing is because you want different countries to put different ideas on the table and to see
Oh, so it's
whether
our
or not
chance.
this.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, what South Africa wants is South Africa wants a fairer, in its view, global borrowing context. So South
Hmm.
Africa's allegation is that the kind of rating agencies are
All nasty
marking
to
us
us.
are nasty to us, and also all other developing countries. And they're applying a different a slightly warped set of criteria. And actually, an economist was
No, Tim, I've got to
and made the
interrupt you.
case.
I'm going. No,
Yeah,
I've got to. They are applying the same set of criteria to a warped situation. Okay, that's the problem. They want to change the criteria to suit our yardsticks. Now, I'm sorry, but the trouble with capital is it has choice, or there is capital that does have choice, some capital, and
right.
it will not be dictated to. It follows the current that flows in its best interest. And so
But
if you
Mark,
present,
are you really
yeah,
arguing that this is completely objective, that works on a
I
completely
don't
objective
know.
basis?
I don't know. I don't know what
Right,
the rules are for exactly determining capital. I do know
right,
that if you sitting in, let's say, the United States, and your rules of capital are we want this return for this risk, okay, and
right,
someone wants to encourage you or entice you to take some of the capital out of that ecosystem and put it into another ecosystem, they want
right,
someone to evaluate that new destination against the current acceptable rules. They go, this is what we
right.
do with our money. Okay, we've got an idea for you to do something else with money. And so we're going to present this thing to you. And at very least, you have to have the same terms of reference to start with. Okay. And then they go, okay, but here's what we've got for you guys. We've got higher risk, but oops, here it comes higher returns. And they go, okay, now we're talking. Okay, but
Yes.
you can't persuade them out of their comfort zone and their eons of discovery of the truth of return on capital into a void that has got no similar starting point of reference to their own.
Okay, this is the argument that has been presented to me. When
Yeah,
the rating agencies downgraded South Africa to we now between 1 and 2 steps
two,
below.
one or two below investment. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. They did that explicitly on the basis that South Africa's debt to GDP ratio would hit 90%. And it
Mhm.
hasn't hit 90%. It's now
Show
around
me,
about 70.
it went from, hang on, it went from 25 to 75%. Okay, so it's fun. Okay, over a period of time. Okay, so now if you
Downgraded on the
were,
basis. But we were
Yeah.
downgraded on the basis of the explicit argument at the time was that
Yeah.
South Africa's debt is going to reach 90% of GDP. Therefore, we are downgrading South Africa. It hasn't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
South Africa's rating
So,
hasn't been upgraded
so here's your choice.
since that
As
point.
the owner
Yeah.
of capital, you go, Moody's is wrong. I'm going to invest
Yeah.
anyway on the fact choice.
Yes.
Okay.
But no, that is your
Or,
choice. But are you not
yeah. So,
influenced by Moody's at all? And are
well,
you you just ignore it?
well,
You
you
are.
are
Okay.
until they are wrong. Okay. Until they
Yes.
are proved consistently wrong, and then
Right.
Moody's will disappear because no one will listen
Right.
to them anymore. If Moody's made mistakes or whoever it is, Standard & Poor's, consistently got it wrong, no one would
Yes.
listen to them anymore. But
They do
if you were a
consistently get it
betting,
wrong because
eh,
because the stuff is hard.
then if they do consistently get it wrong, why do we bother talking about them? Because people will
because
not listen to them if they get it wrong
because
all the time.
they get it more right than wrong, or they're more in
Ah,
the kind of right sphere than they are in the wrong sphere. So
I
you could
see.
say they're achieving their purpose is basically what you're
Yeah.
saying, and this is
So if you're driving along
and
in
we
a
listen to
car,
them because they achieve their purpose.
yeah.
Right.
If you're
Yeah.
driving along in the car and you've got a long way to go, and all you've been watching is the fuel gauge, okay,
Right.
and the fuel gauge is moving somewhat predictively from full to empty, you're quite
Right.
entitled to say that I
Right.
think this car is going to run out of petrol. Okay.
Okay.
If you are, because what else are you going to say? Now,
Yeah.
there can be an intervention from the driver of the car. Says, I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to stop at a petrol station and fill up. So why
Right.
doesn't South Africa and all of these other badly, nastily treated countries stop at a petrol station and fill up? And go, here's a
Yes.
change of direction. Here's a predictable Eskom supply versus capacity ratio that we've achieved. And we, by the way, we're not spending trillions on diesel, we're building generating capacity. South Africa's running on a generator at the moment, it seems to me. And
Yes.
so if you said we're going to change the trend, and here are some measurable, I promise you, there is a war, there's a flood of capital waiting for us to change those metrics. And
Yes.
instead of us going, oh, they're being horrible to us, what we should be doing is going, what if we changed these three things? Would that
Yes.
take us to investment grade plus three? And I bet you it would.
No, 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 you're right. You know what it strikes me in all of this is somehow the ability to convince, the ability of politicians to convince people that they are changing is not working. It's just there's this.
Because got no evidence to back it. You
That's
know,
is that true? You were
if
talking a little bit earlier about that you feel as though changes are taking place.
coming,
Coming.
future, present, future tense, or whatever that is, it's coming.
Okay.
The notion of
Yes.
engaging in public-private partnerships, I feel, is a mood swing that is developing, but it hasn't yet manifest. Show me three significant, enduring, fully supported, and functional PPEs, and I'll go, we got there. And I promise you,
Right.
Kim, when we do get there, and I hope like hell we do, because I'd like to
Yes.
be part of that in some way, then you'll see the results of the test changing. It's like you
Yeah.
go to the doctor and he says you've got a cholesterol of,
Yes.
and your cholesterol last year was 3 and it's now 4 and and when it gets to 9 you're going to die. Okay, and so he
Okay.
says to you when you go either you or you're going to die. If you
Right.
then change your lifestyle habits and take appropriate medication, do all of those kind of things, the next time he sees your cholesterol's down to 4, he goes, I must revise my hypothesis on your health. But
Yes.
if you don't, he's going to be right. You will die.
Yes.
If
No,
that
no, no.
doesn't
This is
cheer you
true.
up,
This is.
nothing will.
Well, the point that I'm making is that there is a communication problem here. There is because basically the politicians are not convincing themselves, and we are not convincing the public of South Africa that the bad ideas that they have are bad ideas because they're not
No,
changing
I
them.
don't. I
No, you
disagree with you, and
don't
it's
think that?
great that we can disagree here because it's a democratic podcast. But here's the thing: I don't think it's not. It's that they don't believe the promises. I believe there's no proof of delivery. Okay. At some point in time, Tim, I'm sorry, we've been talking about electricity and water and all of these fundamental things and beneficiation, and I can list you 10 trends that we started preaching about way back in the economic years of prosperity, the first 10 years of democracy produced
Yes,
extraordinary prosperity in our country.
yes,
Okay,
yes,
they did. GDP was way up
yes,
there. GDP per capita was all those things. In the last 10 years, not so much. Okay,
yes. No,
now
this is true.
we have to start analyzing what are the causes of that disease, and we have to start changing the treatment. And you can't
Yes,
make more promises against a foundation of more failure. It doesn't work. We have to do something, not promise something, man.
Okay.
Anyway, you get
And
me
that's a good
going
point.
here,
That's a
man.
good point. That's a good point to end on, I think. Thanks everyone for
Okay.
listening. Tell us who you agree with, and obviously be me.
Yeah, obviously.
Both of us. You
Yeah,
can
that would be,
agree
yeah.
with every. That would be nice.
Good week.
But have a good week, and we'll catch you after the G20. It's going to be great.
Indeed.
Everyone.
Indeed. Is it? Okay.
Sorry, I'm a week ahead, but
Yeah,
we'll
way
catch
ahead
you
of us
before
too.
the.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm way ahead. Beg your pardon. Alrighty, later, everyone.
Ta.